I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week in Recruiting. It's This Week in Recruiting.
Yes.
With Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express. I've started to try it. What's your sauce situation there?
I'm a gravy guy.
I'm a gravy guy, too, but I also get their ranch and their jalapeno ranch, which is really good, too.
Dude, they have Ken's. That's exceptional ranch.
Really good.
Allow me to speak as the notorious ranch expert.
You're the recruiting analyst, but she's the ranch analyst.
The ranch is fantastic.
It's good ranch, but I like to have like a little buffet of sauce.
Really?
Oh yeah. I'll go 3 wide on sauce.
See, I quickly decide what I like and I stick to it. I never change.
You're a man of conviction.
It took me 35 years to try a mushroom, and then I liked them, but I mean.
And now I only eat mushrooms.
I like them, but I spent 35 years not doing it, so I'm not going to do it now.
Yeah, so anyway, love you, Chicken Express. It's time for This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. Let's go to Taylor to talk about the Ducks' senior cornerback and athlete, Jarvis Anderson, who has pulled the trigger to Stephen F. Austin as SFA hauls in the services of playmaking talent at Taylor, Jarvis Anderson. We have him as a 3-star. This is a guy who is a pretty remarkable athlete and a pretty remarkable story as well.
Yeah, really good player. I list him as a cornerback athlete. I think he has higher positional value at cornerback because he's got an aggressive mentality. He can sink his hips, stay tight in coverage, and he has world-class athleticism and speed all around. He would have been in the state track meet this year had it not been for an opportunity for him to compete in the Deaf Olympics, which is a really big opportunity, and that kind of tells the story on what he's bringing to the table. I think he would have – he deservedly got the offer that he was looking for in SFA, but I think this talent-wise is kind of a steal for the Lumberjacks program because he checks all the boxes, and his recruitment was slow just a little bit, and I'll never understand why, just because he can flat out play both sides of the ball.
Yeah, he's a guy who you mentioned he qualified for the state track meet this offseason, and you can see on tape, get it. But he's a guy who does the triple jump. He did a 51-foot 1-inch triple jump to get to qualify for state, but he. Instead opted – he could have gone to Austin for the state tournament, but he instead went to Brazil for the 2022 Summer Deaf Olympics and showed out there. So pretty cool story. And actually Colby Carthel. So it's interesting because, as you know, you cannot tweet about a player who is not signed with you, right? That's a NCAA violation. And so Carthel, you'll have guys that whenever they get a commit, that's why you get guys who have the same thing they tweet, or A&M people might say coming to the station or something like that.
Right.
But Colby Carthel went one step further of mentioning, he goes, I had something really cool happen to me. I had the first player ever sign their commitment to my program. So, he must have been FaceTiming him or Zooming him and signed to him that he was committing to SFA, which is cool, unless they got 2 deaf commits in the same week. I have to imagine he was talking about Jarvis Anderson. But very cool and a big-time pickup, I would say, for the Lumberjacks getting a steal there.
And if you want to read more about Jarvis Anderson, we did a really great story on him. I don't know the timestamp on it now because I just republished it to bring it to the top. So fans that want to read more about Jarvis Anderson and his journey to become his journey to become a highly recruited athlete and kind of the history behind his story, you can now go to TexasFootball.com. It's towards the top of the page. So go read about Jarvis Anderson. It's a special story.
Very, very cool. Let's get to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is Red Oaks senior cornerback Warren Roberson. And Warren Roberson has committed to TCU. The number 7 ranked team in the nation hauls in the DCTF 4-star prospect. Number 34 in the DCTF Hot 100. And Looking the part is not the issue here for Warren Roberson. He looks the part.
He's a freak, and he's had a tremendous senior season on both sides of the football. They've really tapped in to him as an offensive talent this season, where he's able to put up some big numbers. I think they're 9-1 heading into this.
Yeah, sounds right.
I think they're 9-1.
I think, yeah.
Only lost one game. I happened to be there for that game when they played Lake Belton, so it was a bad timing for me.
Whose fault is that?
But Roberson is a dude, and TCU was able to win this recruitment out over USC, where he took an official visit, and Texas offered him this season, during the course of this season, so they were able to beat an in-state Big 12 / SEC offer from the Longhorns. And this is just a big-time get. TCU's doing a really good job with this recruiting class, and I guess that's to be expected from, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, a top 5 team in the country.
Okay, wow.
There you
Let's
go.
go.
Top five team in the country. TCU doing a good job on the recruiting
We need
trail.
a bump that has like Power's hot takes on it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is that a?
No, it's
I would
not.
say, is that a hot take? Because I think that most people feel like TCU's done enough to be rated higher.
I would say absolutely.
in the first college football rankings. But I mean, there's still a lot of season left to play. I think that they'll have their opportunity if they continue on the same course.
I think that you are right, and they are going to continue that trajectory if they keep getting guys like Warren Roberson in the next big pickup for TCU. Excuse me. Wow. Swallowed a frog.
You good?
It happens.
This week in recruiting with Greg Powers, next level athlete. Get involved in the conversation. Hashtag TF today. Let's go to our underclassman of the week. The aforementioned Duncanville running back Caden Durham, who I'm reading directly from TexasFootball.com. Duncanville 2024 running back Caden Durham, all caps, went off.
That is facts.
In a 41-17 win over DeSoto. He is a guy, he picked up offers this week from LSU and Michigan State. That brings his total to 15. Places like OU, Houston, TCU, and SMU are already, Alabama's all over this kid. He showed out in their biggest game of the year last week, and it was awfully impressive what Caden Durham put on tape.
Yeah, definitely, and he is a speed demon as well. And that Duncanville offense likes to ride its running backs.
Yes, they do.
Throughout the course of the season, and the offense is starting to click now as he's starting to find some space. They're starting to open up some holes. I would have thought DeSoto's defense would have presented one of the toughest matchups for them, but Caden Durham kind of quickly silenced, any concerns about what they were going to do. As what is that, 309 divided by, rushed for almost 20 yards per touch.
Yeah. A lot.
He's over 1,000 yards now for the season, averaging 10.48 yards per touch.
Wow.
So give him the ball, he's getting a first down. That's his stat line.
Wow.
That's a good back to have.
Yeah.
Seems good.
In your offense. And it seems like Duncanville is starting to peak a little bit on the offensive side of the ball at the end of the season, which is pretty important because they're one of the favorites in 6A to compete for the state championship.
Yes, they look the part, and especially if they're going to start running the ball like this with Caden Durham, they're going to be very tough to beat. Jeez, I'm falling apart over here.
Do we need to do like a wellness
just
check?
enjoy Caden Durham's highlights, we
don't need to bring this up or make this about me. Let's round it all out with our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week is New Caney's senior running back Kedrick Riscano, who is back on the market after decommitting from Michigan State. He is a 3-star guy, number 70 in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Hot 100. I would say, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but like another one of those guys who like a lot of other classes would be in that 4-star mix. But this is a guy who recently took official visits to Oklahoma State. A guy that you keep an eye on. But this is he's opening up, and are you thinking that staying local, or are you thinking what's obviously Michigan State's not having the season they were hoping for, but what are you seeing from Kedrick Riscano?
Well, he took an official visit to Oklahoma State for the win over Texas. And I think that he would fit in that offense really well. He seems to be the type of back that, like a Chuba Hubbard, that could really excel for Mike Gundy in that offense. But the school that I'm probably keeping the closest eye on is Ole Miss.
Okay.
Ole Miss has done a really good job with running backs in their program since Lane Kiffin's been there. Of course, they have Zach Evans featured in that offense and kind of got a 1-2 punch there. And I think Riscano would fit in really well there. He made an interesting comment when I was reading and doing some research on this pick for this week in one of the reports that said, that he likes what Ole Miss does with their running backs because they're not solely responsible for carrying the load on the offensive side of the ball, which allows them to stay fresh. And just kind of reading between the lines on those comments, that's an odd kind of comment to me if you're not already kind of bought into what, you know what I mean? Not a lot of guys are going to say that unless they're already like drinking the Kool-Aid for that program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was like one that kind of stuck out to me reading some report. Actually, it was Tim Verghese who did the interview with Kedrick Riscano over at On 3 Sports. It was a very detailed interview, and I enjoyed reading it. So thanks, Tim, for providing that background and a little context surrounding this recruitment. So, I mean, I kind of like where Ole Miss sits in this. Texas and Texas A&M are also showing some attention late down the stretch here, but could an offer from one of those schools change kind of where he sits mentally? I mean, you're in this first week in November. There's about 2 weeks left of serious recruiting. There will be stuff that happens from, like November 15th all the way up until the dead period that happens in the middle of December. But these schools are trying to shore up these recruiting classes around the middle of November to get everybody the stuff that they need to get in the mail, kind of plan for everything that happens on National Signing Day and the early signing period. And that's kind of like a timeline to kind of keep an eye on. If they haven't announced it publicly, a lot of these guys in the colleges are going to have a pretty good idea where they're going to go, like November 15th and November 22nd. That's kind of the dates to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, Kedrick Riscano is going to be in that mix, and a guy who, I think he would fit in a lot of different places. The Ole Miss thing is interesting, especially like it's so funny. Like you don't think of like a Lane Kiffin offense as being like this grinding running game, but like at the same time, you see what they did last week, against Texas A&M, and obviously the running game is working, and you keep rolling with what works.
When they had some success at FAU when he was there, they kind of morphed into that a little bit more. So he's not. I don't think he's scared to jump into that when he has to.
No, most certainly.
Can I do a bonus pick this week?
And here with a bonus pick on This Week in Recruiting is Greg Powers.
This is a really tough decision for me because we're in like the middle of the DCTF Rising magazine where, I've watched over the last couple weeks hundreds and hundreds of highlight tapes. Another prospect in Texas decommitted this week, and that was Theorin Randall, who plays at Shadow Creek. He decommitted from Washington State. And as I watched not only Randall's tape, but a tons of players across the state. A lot of players on his team are going to be featured in the magazine. This is a tape that jumped out to me talent-wise. So keep an eye on Theorin Randall. I looked at his offer list, and it's not super heavy with like big P5 schools, but his senior film is amazing. This dude is probably on a Shadow Creek defense that's loaded with talent. To me, he's like the marquee player on that defense, the guy that you have to account for every play. 6'2", 275-pound defensive lineman. I'm calling my shot now that I think that whoever gets him is going to get a flat-out steal. And if you're an in-state school or a big-time school, P5 school, looking for a defensive tackle, hit up Shadow Creek because Randall's a baller.
Well, and
bonus pick.
And Shadow Creek is, it's not like they're any stranger to putting up big-time defensive linemen, too. Guys like Alec Bryant and stuff like that. So this is a program that has a history of that kind of stuff.
He's really, like, the thing that I think is like an evaluator's, it's hard to see this on tape. His strength is amazing. And not a lot of people discount that, because these guys are so much stronger than usually their competition because they're like P5 level dudes, right? Playing against high school kids a lot of the times. This dude is really strong. Just check him out.
One guy we always check out is Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting.